Hello again, welcome to our show. Today I'm going to look at The Burbs. It's another beautiful disaster for the week. I'm doing two videos about beautiful disasters. This one's a Joe Dante directed, Tom Hanks starring film that came and went pretty quickly in 1989. You know, it came and went so quick that I never had a chance to see it in the cinema. And I wanted to see it. Is that quick? How quickly it went? Which is weird because Tom Hanks had a big hit with Big the year before. And it did pretty well in America, but over here we didn't really get much. It was released in the summer when you had stuff like Batman and Ghostbusters 2 and Indiana Jones Last Crusade. And it just got squashed in the summer in the UK. It was released early in America, where it got sniffy reviews. It's like people saying, "Oh, it's kind of obvious what it's doing. We don't need this. This is try hard." That kind of stuff. It really, it got that kind of faint praise of it's well done for its kind, but we don't really like it. And let's not talk about it again. So it kind of came and went, and it was one of those films that Joe Dante does a lot of, which is he made a film that wasn't appreciated by the mainstream critics, but as years passed, people seem to really sort of really kind of tune into it. So for my friend and I, Darren, we both watched that film so many times with our students. Like we can do the dialogue, I think, before anyone says any words. So it kind of came and went. I'm a big Joe Dante fan, so obviously I was going to see it when it came out in video. And it's a film I keep on buying every time there's a new format. The Burbs comes out, I buy it again. Saw the Matinee, another Joe Dante film. And this was kind of a good run he had, because he did this and he did Gremlins 2, which is wonderful, and he did Matinee, which is also wonderful. So he was in a row here. This is coming off of one or two films that, he had an early run of things like Piranha, that was a big hit. Then there was The Howling. Then there was Gremlins. Explorers was good, but it bombed. And he did Inner Space, which didn't do that well, even though people liked it. And he did this one, he did another run of good films that underperformed, and then he had problems after that. And some of his later films, like Small Soldiers, are good, but not great. I do have a soft spot for Looney Tunes Back in Action, which he directed. But this was him kind of at his peak, really, like, studios were interested in him, and he was allowed to go and do what he wanted to do, more or less. So it's produced by Imagine Entertainment, which is Ron Howard's Brian Grazer studio. They went about the same time they were doing John Waters' film Crybaby, so they were expanding towards other directors, which would probably lead to something like Arrested Development, like 10 years later, which is also that kind of same sensibility as like the Burbs or Crybaby, that kind of weird eccentric thing that, away from the mainstream things that Imagine tend to deal with. This was one of the kind of first ones they did that were a bit more odd. So The Burbs was like just this weird film that did well but not amazing. Like, it made its money back, but that was about it. No, it was never going to be like a massive hit, but it just stuck around. It was one of those films you could always put in TV, you could always re-release. People were interested. There was a cult interest in it, so it wasn't going to die. You'd always make money off it. So it just became that kind of culty film. And that's fine. Some films are just like that. I mean, you watch the film, you realise that's what its fate should be, because it's that kind of film. It's a film that not everyone's going to get. It's got a stylisation that not everyone's going to appreciate. But it is rather wonderful, despite the fact that the ending's kind of buggered up a little bit. Like, the ending was rewritten, you can tell. Because it goes to a certain point, and then it changes. Like, we can't do this ending, it's too dark. But it's so charmingly done, you still don't mind, because they still get the point across what they're trying to make. Even if they kind of screw up one beat of it, you still get the point of what the rest of the film's been saying. So it's about these bunch of guys in the suburbanites who are just middle America. They're, even though it's shot in California and it looks like California, It's viewed as middle America in a suburb. They're going about their business. One of them is Tom Hanks, is the most normal, boring one. Got a job. He's taking a week off from work and he's sitting around the house. He doesn't want to go to they've got a lake house, but he doesn't want to go there because he has to deal with people and he wants to just relax and be lazy. You know, that's his idea of having a good week. He's got a neighbour, a fat neighbour, who comes round and always raiding his food. He's avoiding his wife, and he's generally up to no good. And there's also an ex-military played by Bruce Dern who's got his American flag that he raises every morning. He's got a trophy wife who's dressed. Because it's Joe Dante doing trophy wife, he makes her kind of almost childish and just a bit odd. And Carrie Fisher's Tom Hanks' wife, and she's like the grown up in the film who just watches all of this go down, going, "Oh my god, what's going on? Why are they so stupid?" So these three lead characters, you know, Tom Hanks, his pal, and the military guy, start to get obsessed by the Klopeks, which is these new neighbours who have moved into the neighbourhood at night. Now they're making noise in the cellars. No one sees them. No one knows what they are. And of course, because it's the weird house that's falling to bits now, people are talking, thinking, "What the hell is going on here?" And they're getting more and more paranoid. So the first third is just watching them get paranoid as they start telling conspiracy theories of what could be there. And then as the film goes on, it's about them getting more and more convinced that these people are up to no good. That there's something wrong with these people. We have to find out what it is. Which ends up with them, you know, when they know they're out for the day, scaling the fence, going into their house, digging up their garden, and trying to find out what's buried in the cellar. You know, it's a quick transition because it's a slow build up of paranoia, going from normal to absolutely crazy. So the Tom Hanks character starts out very, very sane, but a bit weird because he wants to stick around the house all week. But essentially the sane one, and by the end he's completely gone. He's built up this conspiracy theory of all this bits of information, which, by the way, is wrong. Because he's seen it from his point of view, and then we see the logic from our point of view. It's like, oh no, that's not right. And they're all doing this. They're all getting these conspiracy theories and all these half forgotten stories, all making them think that these people are up to no good when they're very eccentric. So Henry Gibson plays the lead of Klopeks. He's got some good supporting characters. There's three of them. So it's sort of like the monsters moving in next door and you're wondering what's going on. But the film focuses on the people in the suburbs, the ones who should be the normal characters, the ones who have jobs, apparently, who are the normal looking ones, if a bit eccentric. And he's watching them slowly lose the plot, slowly add stuff up in ways that don't quite work. And then you have Joe Dante directing it, and he's always at the movie parodies and the parodies of perception of what you think's going on and it's not going on, and the fact that we've all seen way too many movies. So the Dante movie parodies all play in perfectly because it's like it's what's going on in their heads. So as they're walking up to go and knock on the door to say hello, you got Sergio Leone score and all these slow zooms into eyes as they're walking down, and eventually ends up in the eyes of a dog. And it's what's going on in their heads. It's like it's perfect because it's exactly what they're thinking. They think they're in a Sergio Leone movie, and they're not. And every little moment is what they think is going on is not quite what's going on. And the whole film is about the kind of increasing paranoia. And the lengths they take where they're rummaging through the rubbish of these characters or visiting the house officially and just being rude and weird. Having their wives trying to look sense into them. There's a really good bit where Tom Hanks is going a bit crazy, and his wife says, "That's enough. You're resting." And the other two come to get him out of the house, and she treats them like the two little boys. She said, "No, you can't come out today. No." And they're just walking away like the two little boys when scolded by the mother. So there's things like that. It's just the sense of that these guys are basically children, and they're acting like children. Or they are. And the film just has that sense of humour about it. And Hanks is having like nightmares. He's watching TV to try and relax, and he's getting scenes from The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and some other weird satanic ritual movie. So he dreams he's walking downstairs and a chainsaw comes through the wall. So there's lots of stuff like that all the horror stuff adds up to suggesting what's going on in their head. This melodramatic nonsense is going on in their head. And it's convincing you that something must be up and something must be up. Now, this is like a 30-year-old film. I'm going to talk about the ending. So if you haven't seen it, go watch the film. But you should have seen it by now. Right, so the ending basically is... Now, it led up to the point where they go over the fence, which is a great Hanks line. "I'm going over the fence. I'm not coming back until I find a body." And the close-ups, like crazy wide-eye lens close-ups. And, you know, they go over the fence. Hanks ends up hitting the gas main and blowing up the house. At this point, Corey Feldman's in it. He's playing a guy who's painting his house, and he's watching it all going on. He's just as paranoid as other three, but he's less involved. And he brings his pals around to watch it. It's like it's entertainment. So he's saying, "Come and watch this. This is insane. You are going to see this." So, so Hanks blows up the house. The Klopeks come back, and Hanks does a great speech where he's saying like, they weren't the crazy ones, it was us. We were the crazy ones. We were the ones who were jumping over fences and stalking them, and they didn't even do anything. It was just us. And that showed the end of the film, because that was perfect. Because it's backing up everything you've seen in the film. But apparently, that was kind of a bit of a bummer for the studio, because the audiences didn't like to have been told they were wrong. They were following up these characters. It was Tom Hanks, the trustworthy Tom Hanks, an idea of him being wrong. You know, it didn't really sit right with them. So they had to change the ending so the Klopeks turns out to be villains after all, which is disappointing. It really is disappointing. They managed to make it funny and have a funny little thing. But it's kind of, the message is kind of a bit mixed and weird. And I think the film would have done better critically if this ending was clearer. But because they've set everything up so well about how wrong these characters are, you know they're insane. You know they're completely insane by this point. And the suburbanites are really insane. And there's all these jokes of the bin men talking about how crazy people in the suburbs are. Like, we need to get out of here, they're all nuts here. There's all this stuff going on. So by the time they've built everything up, it's like, you know these characters are insane. Even though the villains, the people that watch stand up with the villains, you still don't think the characters are sane. They are nuts. All of them are nuts. So it didn't really matter. That ending didn't even matter, because it's like, well, everyone got the point. It was just like you try to turn it around and make it something else, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So you've got an ending that's just a bit weird. But it doesn't ruin the film, because you got the point of the film. You know, if you want to be pure, just turn it off after Hanks' speech. You know, it's easy. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a flawed ending, but the film itself is so strong that for a horror comedy, for this idea of a point of view of these characters who are just insane, it is really terrific. It's a wonderful parody of a Hitchcock movie while adding the kind of schlockier elements of modern culture. So it's basically a Rear Window if James Stewart was nuts. That's what it's like for 90 minutes of the film until that ending. You know. So, The Burbs is really worth seeing. It's really enjoyable. It's got a cult film, it deserves more. But it is almost a epitome of a cult film. So, it's one of Tom Hanks' most interesting films still. So, definitely suggest you check it out. Well, hope you enjoyed this video. That's me for now. Right, bye.